Okay, so that issue was because we were not having any query. We were just having a mutation. We are supposed to have a query as well, and for this purpose, I have just created a dummy one, dummy query. Alright, so this will work. It is without a problem, so don't worry about it. So as you see here in add mutation, I have a mutation which is called add entry. I will even have an amount and type. So if I put in $500 in here, and it's going to be an expense, and send it, I'll get the ID of which what exactly the last one was, the amount of it, and the type. So this gives us a confirmation that this was added into our database. Now if I see in my database, we do a new query, select all from budget, and if I run it, I should see that particular I should see the entry. So run selected entry, and this one for some reason I don't know why it doesn't show us, but don't save it. Okay, let's try this one. Run query. Alright, so we have this entry which is a 500 and an expense. So if I keep adding to it, income and expenses, because we need a final count, and for that purpose we are having this income and expense. So amount and income. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you this again, and we should have two entries. Okay, so this is working great. Now let's quickly move on to the second part, which is a get total, because now we'll have a actual query in there. So for that purpose, what we need here is we just need to have a get total amount, get total query. So get total, and this will be a float. All right. So what the resolver should do here is we need to have another one which will be async get total, and we don't need to pass in or have any variables here. So we will simply keep it as get total and return get total from, we'll have it as a function in our database. So it will be above our helper function. So get total or get running total. Okay, so this will be basically our, I can say, income minus expenditure or income minus expense. Okay, so let me quickly copy and paste the whole function here so I can tell you what exactly it does. Delete, and after that will be the get total. Okay, here it is. I'm copying it. Calculate total. We have another helper function which does the calculation. So okay, get running total, and there is a helper function which is called calculate total. I'll tell you what exactly it is. Okay, 2. Alright, so I just added the running total function, which what it does is we have a get total name and start a connection, initiate a SQL query, check. First of all, here we need to check if this particular table exists. If it doesn't exist, we cannot get a total. So this will decide that, because this will run and check if it exists, and if it does, then if it doesn't, if the length is 0, then just return it. Or if it does exist, then what we need is we want the complete budget here, and based on that budget, what we need to do is we need to calculate if the total is, if it's expense or income, and based on that, income minus expense, that would be the final total. So calculate total does the same thing. It gets an array, and total will be start with 0, and it goes through every object, and in that one it will track. If its type is expense, it will minus it. If it's an income, it's gonna add it. So for this purpose it will be pretty straightforward, and let me show you how we will have it. So this is okay. Do we need to do any modifications in schema? No. Resolver is something where I will have to call the right object or right function, get total. So are we exporting it? Yes, we are. So get total resolvers dot, so get total. First of all, let's see if we have it here. Get total. So database, have I saved it? Save this one. Database export default. Oh, okay, it won't auto import because there are some linting issues, but let's see. Get total. Here we have get total, and this should work. So let's see if what we get here. So this won't be a mutation. I'm going to duplicate this tab, and I'll have query, which will be get total. Send might show an error or might not. So okay, so total is minus 400. Let's see, let's check it. So run query. Alright, so expense and income. Okay, income is 100 and expense is 500, so that means that this is correct. If I keep adding into it, so let's say if we added, where is that? Okay, if we added $1,000 as an income, in that case it should give us a new total, which should be around 600. Yep, there it is. So second function is created for getting getting the total, and now the third one will be deleting a record. So for that reason, what we will do here is, first of all, we'll need to add into the schema. So delete entry, and this will, what delete entry will take is a string and an ID. That's what it really cares about. ID of the particular, what we can say is particular entry, ID of an entry. That's what we care about. Okay, so it is going to take an ID and return an entry. Okay, so entry, we already have the type, and now in the resolver what we need to do is async delete entry, and it's going to be the same thing, await delete entry, so return await delete entry, and this will be passing an ID. And here we need to have an ID as well, right? So ID, and this will be object any. Usually it will be string, but let me, at this moment, I'll just put it, or let me try with a string if it works. ID equals to string. Okay, any. Let's try with any because I still need to get better at TypeScript. Okay, so this works all right, and delete entry, we don't have it yet, so delete entry, and where is it? Okay, so schema was all set, we don't need to worry about that. Resolver is okay. Now the main function is the database, because that's where we do the main thing, dirty work of deleting the entry. So delete entry, let me copy and paste the whole thing here as well. Just a moment. Database, get total. Okay, here it is. Deleting an entry. Alright. Okay, so what do we do here is we have a check if it's in the database or not. So we, first of all, we connect to the database, Next is initiated the same way, check if it exists. It should exist because if it doesn't exist, it won't have a button, right? So check if the length is greater than 0, and if it is, then we are going to delete the query. And it is going to, if there's some error, we are catching it here as well. And if there is no record found, then we'll have a record with the given ID not present. We'll return that. Okay, so this is going to give us, fetch the whole thing again and give us a final entry and close the database. We might not really require this, but it's just there for, at least for now. And this entry table exists. So this is, it's not kind of an entry table exists. It checks if the particular item is in the database. So check if the entry with ID is DB. So if this ID doesn't exist, in that case it is going to tell that ID doesn't exist, or else it is going to delete it. So delete takes place here and we execute it. So if you don't get any idea about it, don't worry, just let us know in the comment section. I'll explain you more about it. Okay, so it is going to return that particular value as an output. Alright, so let's quickly go ahead and check in the resolver, just double verify everything, and once we feel it's okay, we'll just test it. Okay, I think it's okay. I'll go ahead and do the mutation, delete entry. This will be a string, right? So ID equals to, let's quickly go ahead and find an entry. Run query. I think it's running or what? Okay, let's try, give it one more time. Run selected one. Okay, do we have an entry from any previous one? Okay, I think here it is. So let's try to remove this particular guy. So it will be a string, right? So it's going to be a string, and what do we want back as ID, type, and amount. So we should get this particular ID with the amount of $1,000, I guess, and type would be income. So let's see. Oh, okay, great. So this worked in the first try. I didn't expect this one. Okay, anyway, so this is working, and we have all the three functions right here in front of us, which are delete, get the total, and yeah, let me try to run this. Okay, see, we have two entries. The third one was deleted. So okay, great, this is working as we expected it to work. So now we have three functions, which are add an entry, delete an entry, and get the total. So anytime if we have, let's say in our application, if we want to keep asking for the total, if we refresh it, it should call this every time on every refresh or pull down. If you are using a mobile application, if you pull it down, it should refresh, right? So every time if you pull down, it should call this particular method. So that's what we expect it to do. Alright, so I think that this application is complete, and if you don't understand anything, don't worry, let us know in the comment section. So part 1 of this complete project is completed, and I'll post this video, and the next process will work on the React Native application, and this would be a pretty straightforward application. So but we have a part 2 of it as well. Part 2, I mean that the second version, a complicated version. If you want to try it, just don't worry, let me know, and I'll provide you that documentation, and you can start working on it. So thank you very much for watching, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends who would like to learn, and we also have a community if you want to join it. So I'll see you next time, and have a good one. Bye bye.